Hi everybody, this is a green, red, and black, all-in, Hit the Mother Lode, Breach the Multiverse, Bramble Familiar deck, where you just kind of spin the wheel and see what comes out. Well, hold on, let me switch the view so you can get a better look at this deck. Alright, there we go, that's a little better. So we've rearranged it into cards that can be played a little more cheaply, but also have a very expensive secondary mode that we can hit off of Hit the Mother Lode. Bramble Familiar kind of fits two ways into this. We can use it as a mana creature, or as a thing to mill and cheat something out into play. And I wanted to see if we could live the dream with Chandra and hit 2 copies of Hit the Mother Lode, Breach, or one of our other gigantic spells. So yeah, is this deck good? Probably not. The mana base needs a little work, and it can be inconsistent because we're playing with so many big things, but that's not what we're about today. Let's go see some games with this deck over on the ranked standard ladder. All right. Well, this looks pretty decent, actually. I'd be surprised if this deck works at all, but we're trying to live the dream here. I've got Chandra in our opening hand. There's our one of Gix's command. Trying to get Hit the Mother Lode going and see what we can Mother Lode into. Opponent's got a Vron for us. There's a Breach the Multiverse. That's kind of the other side of our insanity coin that we've got going here. Let's get out extra land with the Worm. That lets us Bramble Familiar. So at least we're set up here to Gix's command if things get out of hand. But we've done some... Yeah, not going to block that. We've done some nice ramping here in the meantime. Oh, Braids. That's pretty good. No sacrifice from the opponent, though. All right, so we're up to 6 mana here. I think we kind of need to go for Chandra. Opponent's tapped out. We'd be foolish not to. Let's go 3 there, 3 there. All right, come on, deck. If we get untapped land, we can double up Breach the Multiverse, should Chandra survive the turn. Okay, there's Lily. Spiteful Hex Mage. Alright, so what is Lily going to do here? Oh, sacrifice the creature. Okay. Well, all is actually not lost. So Chandra can give us a little bit extra mana. Yep. Whatever color we want. Let's go red and black. And let's double up Breach the Multiverse. So that's going to mill. Oh, okay. Apparently that's enough. Good game. All right. Kind of a slow hand. We've got to hit the Mother Lode. Let's give this a try. All right. Let's try to get these Ziatora's Proving Grounds going here. So this deck feels a little bit like the Invasion of Alara deck. Slightly different, though. Not necessarily trying to cascade into too much weirdness. And Hit the Mother Lode kind of lets us keep playing our big Haymaker spells. So it's similar, but different in a very strange way. Opponent appears to have some kind of Boros equipment-based deck going on here. So I think what we need to do... Yep, let's just pass here. Gonna take a chunk of damage. Yep, let's turn 4 big score. Drop our Titan in the yard. We can pick that up with a Breach later on. And now we are guaranteed enough mana to kind of address this board. So let's try for a Chandra here. Because if Chandra survives, we can double up another big score. Although with red in our opponent's deck, they might have a little burn to throw at her. Let's see. What do we want X to be? Yeah, let's just go 2. They could have a combat trick, but... Oh, do they? Yeah, if they can pump up any of those creatures... Well, they had the burn for Chandra anyway, so at least we get rid of the creatures. Chandra is down. Kind of got to start rebuilding here. This is a crazy looking hand. Heartflame Duelist comes down from our opponent. There's land number 5 from us. Well, not too threatening. We are at 10, so we're going to have to make sure that they can't put that War Whip onto the Duelist here. And I'm okay with them gaining life. Just trying to stay alive. Get to our big Haymaker spells. Lion Sash, huh? Got that main deck equipment graveyard hate for me. Let's do big score. We're going to pitch one of these Hit the Mother Lodes. Pick up a Wurm and a Bramble Familiar. And another Breach the Multiverse. Well, let's Breach. We kind of need some defense, and this could give us two bodies in the way of our opponent's offense. All right, there's Jor from our opponent. The only thing, let's take the Titan. I think that's the best one. That will let us destroy the Whip and make another blocker in case they've got something like Ossification. Since Jor is kind of small, they could Duelist. Oh, they've got a Rebel Salvo for it. Okay. As I was saying, Jor on the small side. So we need some beefy blockers. Oh. Well, there's the Ossification. Finally giving our opponent a reason to play that. We've got one Rhino left. Luckily, another Rebel Salvo. All right, takes out the Rhino. Luckily, opponent, I was going to say, they're short on mana to activate the Whip. But with that Cabaretti Courtyard, they're going to be at 5 mana next turn to put the Whip on somebody. So many choices, so many different mana costs. Let's hit the Duelist with the Virtue of Persistence and put out the Familiar to get our ramp going. No reason to adventure the Beanstalk Wurm. Citizen's Crowbar from our opponent. So if the Familiar lives, we are at 7 for our spells. There's Llanowar Wastes off the top. Yeah, I kind of want to just cast Hit the Mother Lode, you know? We just got to go for it. Bramble Familiar. All right, let's go Fetch Quest. We see Beanstalk Wurm. Oh, Sheoldred. That could work on this board, right? Non-token creature. All right, that gets rid of Jor. I think we need to keep our creatures back on blocks for now. They're playing Kellen the Fey-Blooded, finds Sword of Once and Future. Huh, haven't seen too much of that one. Get you some free spells, I suppose. All right, Heartflame Duelist. It's going to use the slash, take out our Bramble Familiar. But we've got tons of mana left from that Hit the Mother Lode. So let's do a couple of things here. Let's go Gix's Command, destroy small creatures. We're going to put counters on Sheoldred and give her lifelink for the turn. All right, opponent's at 32. Bring them down to 26 and ourselves up to 12. Get us out of the range of some burn. Let's lay down Virtue of Persistence. That'll invest in our next turn. Yeah, what do we do? Let's just play a tiny Fleshgorger here. Perfect. If it dies, that's fine. We can Virtue it out the next turn. All right, well, our opponent's got the sword, but nothing to put it on. They've got a few adventure creatures floating around there in exile. They're both coming out now. And looks like they can put the Crowbar on Kellen. Virtue of Persistence activates for us. I'm pretty sure our stuff is better. Yeah, it's either Gorger or... Yeah, why don't we just take another Sheoldred? So we'll keep the big one, but we still get the trigger from the newly resurrected one as it makes its way to the grave. Heartflame Duelist is the sacrifice from our opponent. We'll get in for some menacing attacks, gain that life, and then let's activate Sheoldred, since graveyards are pretty big right now. We can destroy Kellen with that. And we'll be on track to reanimate a whole bunch of stuff from everybody's graveyard on one of these future turns. Another Jor. All right, there's the sword. Equips up Jor. We've got Virtue going off here. Yeah, we've kind of got our opponent stuck in a Sheoldred loop here. This is kind of nice. All right, yeah, opponent sees the writing on the wall there. Good game. This is a tricky one. Let's mulligan. Ugh. Another 2-lander. Okay. Well, we've got a Virtue, and we've got enough mana to hopefully cast these Gorgers. If we can draw another land, and that'll at least might get us through the early game. Oh, man. Opponent with the Monastery Swiftspear, so we're going to need some help pretty quickly. Proving Ground off the top. That gets us to 2, so meaning we can Deathcap Glade right into Gorger on turn 3. See what our opponent does here. We might need to Virtue something. Nope, just an adversary hits us for 3 down to 16. Yeah, let's stick with the Gorger plan. Easily removable by a red deck, but if not, really kind of delays their game plan. Play with fire to our face. Prowess is up the Swiftspear. Plus, we kind of want at least one of these Gorgers in the yard so that we can get it back later with a Breach or with a Virtue. Okay, put it with another adversary. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll take that. Block the Swiftspear. Not sure why the opponent attacked there. Might have just hit the all attack button out of reflex. Well, good for us. Let's go hit one of these adversaries with the Virtue. Get the Bramble Familiar down to start mana production. And yeah, we're at 15. Let's go on the attacks here. Proactively gain some life. Most of these red decks can remove a small Gorger without too much trouble. There's the Lightning Strike I was thinking about. Might as well gain the life. Can't really count on it being around to block. All right, well, that wastes off the top, brings us to 6. An unfortunate in-betweeny number. Let's go Gix's Command. Make our familiar big. And destroy our opponent's adversary. Get in for the attack. We'll see if we can win this game with a mana creature. Yeah, it's big enough. Oh, I was going to say, it's too big for Lightning Strike. They've got the Nahiri's Warcrafting. All right. Well, this is a tricky spot. I'd rather have the Gorger in hand, but big score lets us get Virtue going, and we can just recycle everything. So we may have to sacrifice our Gorger on the altar of big score. That's an interesting include. Everybody playing Sword of Once and Future today. So that's going to allow them to recycle Play with Fire and Lightning Strike. Let's pitch Gorger to this big score as planned. Nothing but lands and another Gorger. All right, let's go Virtue. We're at 21, so we can afford to take the turn off, essentially, to start getting this effect going repeatedly. Kind of an interestingly balanced card, Virtue. Doesn't really do anything right away. Makes you set up your board to hopefully take advantage of it. All right, puts the sword on the Phoenix, as expected. Opponent going to cast something out of the graveyard now. Surveils a mountain off the top. And Play with Fire going at our face. Going to give them the Scry. Keeps on top. All right. Yeah. I'll pass on the Swiftspear. We're going to Virtue out our big Fleshgorger. And let's just play a twin brother for that guy there. And yeah, that's a lot of life gain. Good game. Yeah, well, all right. We've got 3 mana. We've got all of our colors. We can start off with a Virtue of Persistence Adventure Side into Phyrexian Fleshgorger. So I think it makes sense. Yeah, let's get the Haunted Ridge down. That way we can Wastes on 2, draw another Virtue. Alright, well, let's get the Waste down. Decadent Dragon in here is just some flexible pseudo card draw. A big body that doesn't necessarily die to Lightning Strike instantly. Beanstalk Wurm has been okay. It kind of shows up when I don't need it, but when it does work out, it's nice to get that extra land play. Yeah, let's go Decadent Dragon, speaking of lands. See what we can pull from our opponent's deck. Opponent decides to scry with the treasure map. Yeah, one thing about the treasure map, I do remember back in the day, I guess this was probably original Ixalan, I used to see Saffron Olive treasure map in nearly every deck, it seemed, but I don't know. I took a look at it now. It doesn't quite seem maybe as good as it used to be to me. Well, we finally got some lands off that second dragon. Looking at these other cards we've got from our opponent, you can see a Destroy Evil, which is probably going to have some targets against our big creatures, and a Witness the Future. And that tells me our opponent is playing the long game. Witness the Future, not quite as tilting a card for me as Farewell, but it's in the same category. Like, opponent, how long do you think we're going to be here? All jokes aside, our opponent's got a blue and white deck here, so we kind of need to figure out what angle they're going with. Plenty of mana up. Let's offer up a big score, discarding Wurm, and see if this is something they want to counter. They don't. Doesn't mean they don't have the counter. But that was a juicy target. Alright, we've got enough mana to start doing something. Opponent with 6 cards in hand. I'm a little wary of just playing out our big stuff. Let's go for a dragon here. Out of Air. Okay, a nice flexible counterspell from Lost Caverns. Let's go for a 3-mana Gorger here. I want to keep this last treasure around. That'll keep us right at 7 if we don't draw the untapped land. Just trying to play out some threats here and see if we can't get some counters out of our opponent's hand. Alright, no counter there, but they might have the removal for it. Well, they kind of do. It's a soul partition that makes it a little bit more expensive. We can cast it from exile later. Realm Breaker. Well, opponent's already got a bunch of land available. Well, let's try for a Breach the Multiverse and just see what's happening here. Oh, no counter. Memory Deluge could be looking for one. They got 3 treasures left. Opponent grabs 2 cards. No, it happens. All right, what are we getting? Milling a bunch of stuff. Jace and a Wanderer. Let's take Jace from our opponent, and let's take Chandra from our side. So this is all starting to add up. Witness the Future, Jace, Realm Breaker. All right, well, first things first, let's go Chandra, exile a few things to do off the top. Oh, man, yeah, exile 5 things to do off the top. And let's mill our opponent for 12. There's another Jace gone by. Okay. All right, well, here's a possible win condition for us then, which I think the opponent was trying to use on us between Jace and a Realm Breaker. And I don't know how many Witness the Future that deck normally plays. But we are holding 1 copy in our hand from our opponent's deck. Opponent takes out our Chandra and Realm Breakers us, stealing a land. Decides to pass it on over as we pick up a Hit the Mother Lode. Okay. Well, let's try for the breach again. We're kind of ahead as far as milling goes, but they've got the confounding riddle for it. Now let's continue to plus Jace then. If we can build him back up, he can be another source of potential milling, as our opponent helps us out by drawing off the Treasure Cove. Fateful Absence for the stolen Jace. Opponent's got a tap land, decides not to Realm Breaker just yet. Land off the top for us. Yeah, let's try to get a Sheoldred out there. Hurl into history. Yeah, all right, well, go discovering, opponent. Finds another Realm Breaker, the Invasion Tree. Guess we got kind of lucky over there. That doesn't really play well with those Memory Deluges, though, does it? Since you don't spend any mana to cast them? So yeah, we could... This may come down to a close mill matchup here. If the opponent can find another Jace, we've got our library a little bit low as well from from Breach. And they've been Realm Breakering us several times. So we might have to witness our own future. Although I'm kind of hesitant to put that back in our opponent's graveyard. Let's attack with the dragon here. Alright, I was positive they were holding a Wanderer there. Well... I mean, I didn't come here to not hit the Mother Lode. Let's fire this off. So the good thing is it doesn't put the cards in my graveyard if this resolves, but they've got enough to confound it. Confound it. Back to the drawing board. All right, Realm Breaker. Yeah, they're hitting us 3 cards at a time. So if we can breach and pick up Jace again, that's one option. This might come down to a classic the deck scenario from the Type 1 days of Magic. I'll explain that in a moment for folks who don't know what that is. Let's attack with the dragon here. Okay. Free treasure from the dragon. Yeah, let's try for a virtue. We need some like repetitive effects. Ooh. Well, that worked. Let's go witness the future on ourselves. I think it's worth it. I'm kind of worried about our opponent finding a Jace. So let's put back Breach, Chandra. I guess another Breach. Because even if we cast that on our turn with similar libraries, if they have to draw first, then we win. And we'll take a Breach into our hand. Anyway, the way the deck won, sorry, non sequitur there. So, okay, Realm Breaker gets us down to 17, but that means Jace can't finish us if they've got a Jace in hand. So anyway, yeah, the deck, long story short, was just a really dirtily control deck that would win with one activation of a Millstone, and we got there. Good game. All right, well, for those of you who are left after my Type 1 story, let's get this going here. We got 3 mana, so I'm keeping this hand for sure. Got some ramp, as our opponent looks to be on some flavor of dinosaurs. Totally different era of Magic back then. Can you imagine how long that game must have taken, where everyone has drawn through their entire library, but because you've milled your opponent one more time, they run out of cards first? The thrilling days of Magic. Let's go Beanstalk Wurm. Play out this Proving Ground. That'll get us an early big score next turn. Yep. As much as a lot of people fondly remember the early days of Magic, I think the game overall is in a better spot nowadays. There's just more people who are good at designing games, especially games of this nature, taking a look at it, and it's just more fun. Let's discard Big Score to Big Score, pick up a Gorger and a Rockfall Vale, and let's go for Hit the Mother Lode. Might as well spin the wheel. Oh, we hit the Mother Lode. All right, let's go for number 3. Okay, Chandra. It's not quite the same, but I'll take it. And we'll use Chandra to clear out some creatures here. Hit a little dinosaur and one of the mana creatures. And that was... We've got 7 treasures out of that deal. All right, opponent's got a Rampaging Raptor. Hits us for 4. Unfortunately, going to take Chandra out there. Oh, that would have been a lovely double breach if we had kept Chandra alive. Well, let's just go for the single one. Let's try and get our opponent's biggest dinosaur. Spinning the wheel again. Well, it looks like it's just the Rampaging Raptor, unfortunately. Let's see. A Raptor on board for our opponent, plus a mana creature. Let's go with the Gorger, just because we are at a little bit of a low life total. But we do have a bunch of treasures left. Let's play out Sheoldred here. They'll most likely sacrifice the mana creature, but it also leaves our opponent without much ability to kind of respond to these last couple of turns where we're cheating out a bunch of stupid dinosaurs. All right, well, it works sometimes. Good game.